Hello everybody, you will not believe how easy it is to run Airflow on Docker environment, and in this video that's what I will be showing you. So let's get to it. Alright guys, I know sometimes it can be very challenging to get Airflow up and running on your local machine, and I say this because personally I've been there. I've gone through the troubles of trying to just get Airflow to run on my local environment, and it doesn't work. But you know what? I figured out one of the easiest ways of actually deploying Airflow on your environment, and this is using Docker. So in this video, I'll be showing you how easy it is to deploy Airflow on Docker environment and get it running within minutes. Stick around because I'll be solving all your problems within minutes. So let's get to it. Okay, so to run Airflow on Docker environment, you need Docker installed. So let's go ahead and check if Docker is actually installed on our local machine. So I will navigate over here to my terminal and we will check if Docker is installed. Okay, so I'm just going to increase this screen right here. Okay, so this is my terminal right here, and to check if Docker is installed on your environment, all you have to do is type this command docker version. Okay, so if you type docker version, you will see an output like this or something else that is along the lines of this command is not recognized. Okay, the other thing that we will be needing in this video to make our life easier when deploying Airflow on Docker is docker compose. So just type docker compose and then version. Okay, so for me, as you can see, I do have docker compose version 2 installed on my environment, as well as docker command. Okay, so you do need these two commands running properly. Now if you are on Mac environment like myself and you don't get an output like this, that means that you may need to install Docker on your environment. And if you have installed Docker and you still don't see this, then please do take a look into one of the videos that I previously made where I went through the process of installing Docker desktop on MacOS environment. Okay, so all you have to do is basically install Docker desktop, and I'll just show you how easy it is. Okay, so just navigate to your browser and type Docker desktop. Okay, and if you're on Windows, it's the same thing. Just type Docker desktop on Windows or just Docker desktop. And when you come right here to the website, you just need to scroll down to this section where it says download Docker desktop, and you can see the options here for your operating system. So you do have here download for Mac and download for Windows. So in that video, I went through the process of downloading Docker desktop for Mac environment. If you're on Windows, it should also be straightforward, but I believe the installation process might differ a little bit between Windows and Mac environment. So if you just want to download for Windows, just search for Docker desktop for Windows, and you will see this one, this documentation here that walks you step-by-step process on how to install Docker using WSL2 on Windows environment. So once you get Docker running, then the rest of this video will be very similar, whether you're running on Windows or you are on Mac. Okay, so the only process that might differ a little bit is how to install Docker. And actually in the next video, I'm thinking of doing how to install Docker for Windows. But again, if you are on Mac like myself, do take a look into that video that I made and you will get Docker installed. I will also put it in the description of this video so that you can also take a look. Okay, so now once you have Docker installed, then what is the next thing? Okay, so you have the basics now here set up. Now the next thing that you will need to do is just go over to navigate over to your browser and search for Airflow Docker. Okay, all right, so when you type this, it doesn't matter. You can run Docker Airflow Docker, it doesn't matter. But in this website here, you will actually we have been given the Docker compose file, so we will be deploying or running Airflow using Docker compose. So just copy this file right here. We will just copy this, and I will also put this one in the description if you just want to copy it directly and download it. So this is the command that we will be downloading to our machine, and this is a Docker compose file that has Airflow in it, and we'll just make a few changes and we'll get Docker up and running within seconds. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this, and what I will do is I will come over here to my terminal, and I will go to my home directory, and right here I will create a folder called airflow docker right here, like that. Okay, so once I do that, now I have my folder created, and basically this airflow folder that I'm making here, this airflow docker, this is where our ducks will be living. Okay, so this is where we will be creating our ducks, and we will also be downloading the composer file to this location. Okay, so we will just go ahead and do that. This command right here, we will just copy it and we will enter it right here and download it. Okay, so the file now has been downloaded to our directory, and from here we will just go ahead and now edit this file. So to do that, I'm actually going to go over to Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code is an editor that you can use, but you can use any other editor that you like. But in my case, I'm just going to use Visual Studio Code because I think it's pretty neat and easy to use. So I'm just going to launch my Visual Studio Code, and again, if you don't have Visual Studio Code, go ahead and download it. It's very straightforward to download. So once I have my Visual Studio Code right here, all I have to do is just open the folder, and the folder that we are opening is the one that we just created and downloaded our composer file to. So I'm just going to go to this location and I will click open that folder in my Visual Studio Code. Okay, so now you can, if you go right here, you will see now that we have the folder right here says airflow docker, and we have that composer file created here. Okay, so all we have to do is just go to this file here, and now this is the composer file where we have our airflow configurations set up. Okay, so you can read through this, but some of the very few things that you can actually see through here is we have the airflow running on Celery executor. So this is for parallel execution. It's using Celery. And then for the database, the backend database, it's using PostgreSQL, and you can see the message broker here is Redis. Okay, so all of these have been set up for you. Now the most important thing right here is the volumes. So the volumes here are the additional folders that you actually need to create on your local environment, and this will be mounted into your Docker container. So this will be syncing between your local environment and the Docker container, and this is how Airflow will actually know that we have these ducks. So for example, for the ducks, you need this folder so that you can put your Python duck files, and the logs here, this is where the logs will be going, and configuration and plugins are where the configurations and additional plugins will be located. So we do need to create these additional folders, and this is the only thing that we need to do in our video. Okay, we just need to create these additional folders on our directory, and from there we just go ahead and deploy this. Okay, so all right, so these are the 4 folders that we need to create, and as you can see, we don't have them right there in our directory that we just created. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I will just do is go to this section here and create folder, and the first folder that we will create is ducks. Okay, and then we will go ahead and create another one for logs, and then the other one is for config. So make a note, if you are selected to the folder here and you try creating it, will create it inside here. So just get out of that and just go to the top. We want to create it in the top parent location. Okay, so I will create another one here for config. Okay, and the last one is plugins, like so. All right, so okay, so that's it. So we have now created our volumes, and this again, the volumes here are the ones that will be mounted in your container. Okay, so we have created our 4 folders right here now, and again, like I mentioned, these are the only things that you need to add to this file. And you can scroll down right here and you will see some of the additional services that we've created here. So you can see we have a container here created for Postgre, and this is going to create our database, and it is going to be running on Postgre environment. And as you can see, the password here that you've been given, the user is Airflow and the password is Airflow. So when we log into our Airflow UI, this will be the password and the username that we'll be using, Airflow and Airflow. Okay, so just make a note of this. I believe you can change this. I think if you want to change the password and the username, I think you can change it from here. Okay, and you scroll down here, you have your Redis, and again this is another container for Redis, and Redis is a message broker, and this is configured here for that, and the port that will be running, it will be running on 6379. You go down, the web server is also right here, and it is going to be running on port 8080. So once we start our environment, we will just navigate to this location. Okay, and then you scroll down here, you have your airflow scheduler, so this will be listening to your DAC and triggering your DAC and putting it to the UI. Okay, so that's the airflow scheduler, and we have the airflow workers, and down here you have the triggerer, and then the airflow init right here. Okay, so this is the airflow init, which is going to be starting your database, creating the database, the users and everything. Okay, so as you can see, we have everything that we need set up right here. Okay, so what do we have to do next? All right, so once you have this created, and again, like I mentioned, all you have to do is just create these folders right here, and now we are good to go and start our environment. So to do that, just navigate to your terminal. So I'm going to open terminal right here in VS Studio, and I'm going to go right here, and if you see now, we are inside our airflow docker directory, and we have our other additional folders created right here. Okay, so how do we get this up and running now? So to start our airflow now, all we have to do is just do docker compose and up. Okay, so that's the command that we will run, docker compose up. That is a command that you just run here, and just click enter. So this is going to create your it's going to start your containers, to create your containers. It's going to create your users. It's going to start your web server, and as well as the additional scheduler and all the services that Airflow needs in order to run. Okay, so you can see now you have your web server starting right here. Okay, so we'll just let this one run, and I think we will go over to our web browser. Okay, so I think it looks good. Okay, so from here now you can see the logs are coming in. So let's go over to our browser now. So we'll go over to Chrome right here, and I'm just going to close this other additional tabs, and we will now go to localhost 8080. There we go. Okay, so you see now that we have our Airflow browser showing. That means that our environment is running well and fine. And then from here now we just enter the password, which is Airflow for the username, and the password is Airflow. Okay, so those are the credentials, Airflow, and again that is contained inside the Docker Compose environment, inside the under services for your database, which in this case was Postgre. The password, the username was Airflow, and the password was Airflow. Okay, so we just enter the same here and just log in. There we go. So you can see how easy that one was, right? We just made a few changes to our composer file. We created our folders and just ran the command. Okay, and we have our environment running. So easy, right? Okay, so now let me show you one additional thing before we actually go to run the DAX. If you go to your Docker, if you actually go to your Docker desktop, just click Docker desktop, you will see an icon up right here, and it is showing that Docker desktop is running. So let's actually go to the dashboard and see what is happening over there. Okay, so when you come to the dashboard over here, you can see that the containers that we actually deployed are showing up here. So you can see the containers here. We have the Airflow web server, the Airflow worker, the triggerer, and we have the Postgre database here, as well as the scheduler. So you have your containers here, and you can see they are actually running. So you can monitor your containers actually from the desktop right here. And then you go to the images, you will see the same thing. So these are the images currently that we have running on our environment. So we have Postgre running, Redis, and the Airflow, and I believe this is the UI. Now, if you go over to your terminal now, and I'm going to actually so we can open another tab here for terminal. but I will actually just go to my regular terminal. So I'm just going to open terminal here. And if you, from here, if you type docker ps, this will be showing you the containers that are running on your environment. So these are all the containers that are actually running right now in our Docker environment. So you can see we have the web server running on port 8080. We have the trigger. We have the Postgre, and this one is also running on port 5432. Okay, so that's the default port for Postgre, and we have Redis running on 6379. So you can actually see the same information that we saw on our Docker dashboard right here. And then you can do the same thing with Docker images. Okay, so if you type Docker images, you will see the 3 images are running. Okay, so you will see the Airflow image running, Postgre, and Redis. Okay, so you can actually see the same information that you see in your Docker desktop dashboard right here. And we went earlier through the volumes. This is where those volumes are mounted in our Docker environment. Okay, so they're mounted here. Now, okay, so we have our Airflow UI now showing up right here. So what is the next thing that we need to do? So let's go ahead actually and create a sample DAG and see if it's going to show up in this dashboard. And I will create a very simple hello world DAG, and we'll come here to the UI once the DAG is created, and I will show you how to run it and monitor the logs. Okay, so let's do that. So we will go over now to Visual Studio Code, and I'm just going to put this on down here. And what we need to do is we need to go to DAG. So DAGs is where now our files will be created, the DAG files. And DAG, I've been saying DAG here. DAG means direct acyclic graph, and basically is a Python code that defines the executions of your pipeline. So if you have, let's say, if you have a data pipeline that ingests data from another database, let's say you have a database that is a transactional database, you can have data getting from the transactional database. You bring that data to, say, a data lake location like S3 or a GCS if you're in GCP, and then from there you can bring your data, you can load your data to your data warehouse, let's say Redshift or Google BigQuery, and then from there you can do some transformations. And then once you are done the transformations, you can orchestrate now the entire thing using Airflow. So if you want to do all of that, you can actually do something like that using Airflow, and it's going to orchestrate all your pipelines from end to end. And I've done a number of videos on that actually, and I will put the links for those videos in the description, but you also go to the channel. I will actually quickly show you because I think it's important for this video just to see how Airflow works if you're doing end-to-end pipelines. Okay, so this is one example right here actually, this one for Cloud Composer. I did this project here where I went through the process of using Airflow running on Cloud Composer to orchestrate a pipeline, and in this case we had data in GCS and we were writing into BigQuery and doing transformations. So if you want to orchestrate something like that within Composer, you can actually do that, and I did that on this video here. I did another one with Snowflake. So there's another one here for Snowflake where I had Airflow, and it was orchestrating a pipeline in Snowflake. So the data was coming from S3 and then coming to Snowflake, and we had to orchestrate that end to end using Airflow. So take a look into the channel right here, and you will see some of these very interesting videos. Okay, so that was just a quick overview of how you can use your Airflow to orchestrate your pipelines. All right, so now let's go ahead and put our DAG right here. So all you have to do is create a file here, and we are going to call this one hello world DAG. And remember, your files have to be Python files.py. Airflow runs only on Python. Okay, I haven't checked in if it runs and how you can use it if you are using programming languages like Java and other programming languages, but I think the primary language that Airflow runs on is Python. So all of your files have to be .py. And then from here, I'm just going to paste this code right here. I'm going to paste this code right here. I'm just going to copy it Okay, and we will bring it over right here. Okay, so I will quickly walk you through what this code is doing. This is a very basic hello world airflow duck. So on top here, I'm just importing my operator. So the operators I'm using here, we are using Python operator, and this empty operator is just for readability. It does nothing. But the main one is here, the Python operator, which will be running the Python code. And the Python code that we have here is this one. So at the beginning here, I'm saying, you know, just creating this function called say hello, and all it's doing is just printing hello world. Okay, so this is a very basic. And then we have our default arguments here, which is pretty standard with Airflow. And then here we are beginning our duck. So I'm creating my duck right here, and I'm calling it duck and passing some of this other information like the duck ID, which will be showing in our UI, hello world, and the description of this duck, a simple hello world Airflow duck. And this is important right here, right? So the schedule for this, currently I'm just running this manually, so I'm setting this one to none. But remember, if you have tasks that you have to schedule and you want them to run regularly, then you can change this one to specifically meet the schedule that you want. So this is where you put that. And the start date right here, if you want to catch up. So if there's if you want to catch up files from, let's say, last week up to today, then you can put the start date, and actually for the catch up you put this one to true. In this case, I'm not doing any catch up, so I'm just turning this to false. And for the tags, you can also put your tags here as well. Okay, so I'm just starting this, putting these empty operators to signal the beginning and the end of my duck. And right here now is where we put our task for running the Python function right here. Okay, so hello task, and this is going to be running using Python operator, and the task ID for this one is say hello, and all it's doing is just calling that Python function, which is going to print hello world. Okay, so in our dashboard, in our logs, what we expect to see when this Airflow duck runs is just a message saying hello world. Okay, so that's all we need to see. And from here we just define our dependencies, and again we are starting, and then the next, and this one is going to be running sequentially in this case. So we are starting with the start duck, and then the next thing we need to do is hello task, and then we finish it. So this is how you can define your ETL pipelines. And you know, I call it pipeline because something starts, it goes to the next one, and then goes to the next one. Although in Airflow you can do parallel tasks at the same time, but the idea is you start something else, you move on to the next one, and then you move on. So in our case, where we have our data ingestion process, so you can have your ingestion process, you can have a code that is ingesting your data. You move it next to the loading, you load it to your database, and then maybe you transform it after that, or the vice versa. You can ingest it, you transform it, and then you load it. So you can do all of that using the pipeline, and you can just define the dependencies here. So just a rough idea of how that one looks like. Okay, so this is now our Python code, and it's ready. So all we have to do is just click save right here, and that is the only thing that we need to do. So once you save this file, then automatically the scheduler is going to notice that there's a duck right here. The Airflow scheduler, that is, it's going to notice that there's a duck in our environment, and what it's going to do is it is going to upload it to your UI, and you will see an additional duck here, and that's going to be automatic. You don't have to do anything else, okay, as long as your Airflow environment is running. So all you have to do is just create a duck, and if there's any error, you will come here and you'll see the error. If there's nothing, then you will see an additional file created here. So as you can see right now, we have 74 ducks on our dashboard here. We want to see this number go up by 1, and we want to see hello world duck created here. So we'll refresh it, and as you can see, there's one active task right here that started, and that is the one for hello world. Now this one by default started immediately, and the reason for this actually is because I was running this duck earlier, the same duck that I just uploaded. I was running it earlier, so by default Airflow recognizes that this is the same code that was running before, and it just automatically went ahead and started it. Now in your case, if this is the first time that you're running, you might not see it showing up in the active tab right here. It might go to the post section, because I think by default it is post. When you create a DAC, it's post. So all you have to do is just go to the DAC and open it, and just hit this and unpause it. Just if you unpause it, it's going to come to this active section right here. So you can see that I unpaused this and it came right here. Okay, so I'm just going to turn this off, and we will only have one active running DAC. So all you have to do is just navigate to this. So just click to that, and you will see now the DAC, and you will see some of these things. So the first thing that you can see is the graph here. Of course, you'll see the details, but you can also check the graph, and you can see now the pipeline for the graph, how it looks. So you have the start, say hello, which is the next thing that will run, and then eventually we have the end operator here. Okay, some of the other things that you can actually see from the UI right here, you can see the code, which is the code that we just deployed, and it is just going to show you the same code that I was walking you through. Okay, so it should be the same. Okay, and now from here you can see some other things. So how do you run this DAC? Okay, so that's the next thing that I'll be showing you. How do you run this DAC? So there are two ways. You can manually run this DAC, or you can schedule it. But as I was showing you, we set the scheduler here to none. So that means if we want to run this DAC, we have to manually trigger it. So to do that, just go to the top right corner here and trigger this DAC. So just click here where it says trigger DAC, and it is going to start your DAC. And from here you can monitor from this section. So you can monitor, you can see here it already ran and it went successfully. So you can actually go to the task itself, click it, and check the logs. So if you go to the logs, you will see if there's any error, and in this case it went successfully, because we can see the message right here says hello world, and that's the message that we wanted to be printed, which is what is right here. Okay, so now successfully we have deployed our DAC to our Airflow environment, and we have run it, and it is running properly. So from here you can now proceed and create your DACs in your environment. If you have any transformations that you want to do, you can go ahead and do that. All you have to do is just come here and create a file, a Python file, and just, you know, do whatever you need to do with your Airflow. You can orchestrate your tasks here, you can change the scheduler, and all of these other things. There's a lot actually that you can read, and it's pretty neat. Okay, so from here you have your environment set up, and as you can see, that one did not take us very long. Okay, so the other way of actually running Airflow is, if you don't want to run it in Docker, there's another way that you can use. If you just want to create the virtual environments and deploy Airflow inside the virtual environments, I did a video like that, and I will just quickly show you, in case you don't want to run it in Docker. If you just want to run it using virtual, because Docker sometimes requires some strict specifications in your environment. If you don't have enough like CPUs or RAM in your environment, then Docker might not run. So Docker is not the only way that you can run your Airflow. You can also actually run it without Airflow, and I did a video where I went through the process of doing that. I will put the link in the description, but the video is right here, how to install Airflow without Docker, and this one is on macOS. It should be the same if you're on Windows. Okay, so guys, that is what I wanted to show you. Airflow is a very popular tool in the data engineering world, so it's really good to know how to use it, but sometimes you may not know how to use it until when you are in working environment, and that's where you get the tools and everything. But that might limit you, right? Because what you want to do is you want to learn how to use Airflow, so that you can up your skills. And now if you know at least the very basics of how Airflow works, then when a project is given to you where you need to use Airflow, then you can actually play in your local environment and get your skills up and running. Okay, so it's the same. Airflow is the same across the board, whether you're running it locally or you're running it on cloud environments, it's the same. So that's what I wanted to show you guys in this video, and you can see how easy that was to get it up and running. All right, so Now if you want to bring down this environment, the command to do that is very simple. Okay, so you just come down here to your terminal and just say docker compose down. Okay, so this is going to no configuration file. Okay, so we just need to go to airflow docker, airflow docker. Okay, you just need to be in the directory where you have your composer file, and then you just do docker compose down. Okay, so this is going to tear down all the containers. It's going to remove the containers. I don't think it's going to remove the images. It's also not going to remove the volumes. It's just going to remove the containers and shut down your UI servers and all. So these are the containers we had: the scheduler, the database, the Redis. So now if you come back here and you try to refresh this, you will not be able to see it. Okay, so your server is now down, your web server is down, as well as your scheduler. And if you also go to the dashboard, the Docker desktop, you will see that the containers have disappeared. Okay, so the images are still there, but they are no longer in use. Okay, so they are unused. Okay, so you can see how easy it is to actually bring the environment up and down. And next time you want to bring it up, just come to this directory and type the command docker compose up, and it's going to start your environment. Okay, so these are the only two commands that you need to worry about as far as I'm concerned. Just, you bring up your environment, you tear it down. Now I'm going to show you this website here, which I found also very useful for airflow. I'm going to put this one in the description as well, but this airflow documentation here walks you actually through the process of how to do that. So you can run airflow in Docker, and it's going to show you here. So it's telling you need to install Docker and Docker compose, and the next thing that you need to do is you can just fetch the composer file here, and this is a file that we just downloaded. You make the edits if there is any, but the only thing we needed to do here is to create those additional folders, and then just go ahead and start the environment. Okay, so you can see that and if you noticed, actually, when we were running our when we started our environment, our server, there was a warning that airflow UID was not set up properly. You can ignore that, or you can just set this to 50,000 like this, but you can ignore it. We did ignore that, so it didn't have any effect. And then for the initializing database, you can do it like this. We didn't do that. It was not necessary. We just went all full blown. We just started the environment. All of it started, all the services, which is this command right here, docker compose up, which is going to start all the containers. And then from there, you can run some of these other additional commands, and you will see your environment. Okay, so right here, you can clean your environment. If you want to clean, including the volumes and everything, you can do this. So this is going to remove the volumes and the images, I believe. So let's do that. If I copy that and put it right here, I think this is going to, yeah, so it has removed now the images as well. So if you do now docker ps, we don't have any containers, docker images, we don't have any images, and I believe it should be the same thing that we see here. You go to here, you don't see any images. All right, so that is pretty neat. Okay, so this is the cleanup process, and you can read through this and get more information about how to deploy airflow using Docker. Okay guys, so that is all I wanted to show in this video. I just wanted to show you how quickly actually it is to deploy airflow and get it up and running using Docker environment. So I hope this video was helpful. Please give thumbs up to the video and subscribe to the channel to stay updated for our next videos. Okay, so I will see you then in the next video. Bye bye.